Hello, this is Qyalms visiting again from the Grim Wayside, and today we have a full series of dolls. Today we will be opening the new Antu Pennies box, Bestiary of All Spirits series. So this is a revisit for them of a very similar series, which is the Little Centaurs that came out. I know that Penny's Box had released a regular doll in just human form at one point. There were 2 series of the little centaurs that came out. She's from the second of the 2 series. Penny's Box and Antu have been putting out, mythical beasts for quite a while, and I'm a big fan of them. They've also put out, the Mermaid series, whoops, which came out right after the centaurs. They put out I believe the dragons came after that, and I'm not sure that the dragons are an Onto collaboration, but they are a Penny's box. My dragons are on a high shelf right now, and they're kind of a pain in the ass to put back, so you won't be seeing the dragons, but they existed. They were followed by the 9-color deer series, which I quite like. They are always unique, the Penny's box dolls. Been trying recently to only collect the most odd dolls or the stranger dolls that are available rather than just your normal Lolitas or something just normally cute. I just don't have the shelf space anymore to harbor anything that isn't extremely cool or unique. But I've been a big fan of the 9-color deer. You can visit both of these two, actually the centaurs as well. All 3 of those, I've collected the entire series of those, and all of those videos are available on the channel from earlier. These 2 fell in love, so they're always together. And then most recently, from the Luluya series, these are 1/8 size instead of 1/12 size, but in terms of mythical beasts, very recently, Penny's Box released from the Luluya series these winged dolls in the Cloud Pavilion series. So I'm really excited. I'm a huge fan of Penny's Box and all of their mythical dolls. When I ordered the entire series this time, uh, I ordered from Kikagoods, and they sent me this delightful tote bag as well that goes with the box. So I really feel like showing off this little bit of generosity. I don't know if this is something that only the early pre-orders would get, or if just because I received it during Chinese New Year, if that was something I got, but it's very cute and I really appreciated it. I'm probably going to use this to store some doll items in. So, we do have the entire box, and much like on the tote bag, the same 2 characters are on the top of the box. And of course, since it's the whole series, it's quite a large box, and the camera's gonna have a little trouble getting into it, but this is the top, and again, it's from Penny's box and Onto. It's a collaboration between the 2. Looking at the front of the box, again, it's a little hard the camera can't quite go out far enough to take in everything, but the main 6 dolls are here, and then the one hidden doll, she is a light blue colored doll with some quite elaborate dress. Uh, that particular doll is just a lucky one if you can find the hidden. This side is blank. On the back, we have the authenticity sticker, the information about the company and the dolls in both English and in Chinese, some QR codes. And then on the final side, we have some Chinese writing. I'm assuming it's about the series. I did not translate it. I should have. I did spend quite a bit of time looking up all of the names of the dolls and the creatures that they're actually based on. So I'm looking forward to really exploring that. Let's go ahead and actually open up the box. So we have the individual doll box. Look how cute and tiny it is. Dolls lately have been getting larger and larger. We've been getting a lot more 1/8 size dolls like the Luya dolls, and then 1/6 size dolls like something coming from Neo Eden, or the recent Transform Electrical series dolls. I would say I highly recommend the Neo Eden dolls, and I do not recommend the Transform Electrical series dolls. But we have a very cute picture again with all of the Chinese iconography on it, since these are traditional Chinese spirits. The 6 dolls that we can expect in the regular series, the authenticity sticker and information on the back, and then the series story, which is probably what's on the larger box as well. I tore this one getting it out. Okay, so the first doll. Let's see. Wow, that is a sandbag of silica desiccant. They do not want this girl getting wet. All right, so this doll with the flower motif on her, I believe is called Bixie. And she's actually one of 2 dolls that are called the Pishu, I believe. I'm going to struggle a little bit with the translations. I did try to look them up, but my translations, of course, are Google Translate, and my pronunciation is whatever kindness I can find on YouTube that will give me a hint as to the pronunciation. So I apologize in advance for that. But this is Bixie, and she is the female form of the Pishu. There is also the male form in the series as one of the main 6. And she's considered the difference between her and the male form is that she has 2 horns and the male has 1 horn. And the male is devoted to wealth, and where she is devoted to warding off spirits. She, of course, in addition to her 2 beast horns, she does have the additional horn that's on all of the that's on all of the pennies box onto spirits. So even if you're a centaur, you get a unicorn horn. If you're a mermaid, you get a unicorn horn. If you are a deer and you have your own horns, you still get a unicorn horn. Let's see. And on the back, that's just the character thing. Pennies box dolls usually come with this brochure. And it gives you a picture of all of the original series from here. So you see the mermaids, the dragons that I didn't bother to bring with me. Oh yeah, I forgot about her. There was a very small series with 4 dolls in it that were little beast girls. I have the little woody sheep, and then I have epilogue and prologue. And those are also really great dolls. I can totally recommend them, and I really like the aesthetic for those dolls as well. And then on the other side, it tells you what you can expect to receive with the doll. Um, this one does not have a stringing diagram on it, but it does show you how to change their hands. That's interesting. They're asking you to use a little piece of wire or a little bar in order to change their hands. That's interesting. How to take off the little neck adapter, how to put on their clothes, and how their heads, oh, sorry, it's off the top of the screen there, and how their heads come apart. My camera is a little extra zoomed in today. So they all came with some jewelry. Her jewelry is silver to sort of match her aesthetic. And it looks like she also has heart hands and she has clasped hands, which are one piece. That's cute. So she has 2 bracelets and 1 necklace, and they are entirely in silver. There's no sort of um, definition or shadowing or ombre to them, but um, they do have a lot of molded in details. Okay. She is very, very pretty. Oh, she's very top heavy. Looking at the doll herself, her body is very similar to the centaurs. I'm probably just going to keep pulling out the centaur, but they did make their legs with molded designs this time with sort of a cloud design. I'd be curious to see it. I'm not exactly certain if all of the um, all of them are going to have exactly the same molding on the legs. I know that their tails are different between the different dolls, or at least some, like, I think it's like 3 different tails maybe for between the 6 of them. They do repeat, I believe, but they are a little bit different. So she has, sort of a flame tail that has a middle section that's smooth, but otherwise it is in pink. It's sort of a pale lavender pink, and it's the same color as her little hooves. And her little hooves actually look like they have little claws on them. So there's like 3 little points on her feet that actually look like little claws. I need to make sure that I am staying on screen there. Um, I do like the molding details. I think they're really pretty and very interesting. And again, the body looks very similar to the centaurs. I think it's probably just a repeat or recast of their body. She has one piece for her upper arm, so there's no additional rotational piece there. And she has her teeny tiny peanut joints in both her knees and in her arms. And then she has cute little chubby open hands. So looking at her hair, I know Kikagoods, I believe this doll, when they were describing her hair, said that it was ice cream hair. I'm gonna guess that's the smooth loopiness of it. She's got a little tiny ducktail in here. There's no ombre on the back of her head, but it is a really pretty pink, slightly more warm toned than her plastic parts, or her, I should say, her translucent parts. She's all plastic. On the front, with her swirly little bangs, she has a white, not ombre, but a white accent around her face. And then her horns are quite thick, and they also have, it's hard to tell if it's like supposed to be like a leafy detail or if it's just a very gnarled horn. Their little horns in the center are actually different from the previous horns. In this case, they are curved, and instead of having little lines like a narwhal horn or a unicorn horn, there's a little notch in the front, which makes them appear more like a mythical beast's horns, like a Kylin or something like that. So let's go ahead and dismantle her head and get a better look at her face and her ears. Looking inside her head, there's no magnets, no space for magnets. I do kind of like how simple the Penny's box dolls usually are. There's usually not a ton of loose accessories on these dolls. And I say that, I know that this doll has this little crown that always falls off, and the Luluga has this really cool skull on her head. But they tend not to have a ton of loose accessories that require magnets. And I'm saying that now, I'm thinking about which series is it? The Little Beast Girls have a lot of horns, and those have magnets. So maybe take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's interesting. It says K80 on the inside. I don't know if that's like a mold or a series or something. Looking at her faceplate, so she has a single piece eye chip set that are on a little peg. So they have looks like a single orientation. Her head, of course, slides onto her neck adapter. She has really cute ears that have a pink ombre to them on the tips. Everything matches that sort of pinky color that is her hair. I like that they incorporated the purple color from her translucent parts. But there's some really beautiful molding and swirls and feathery looking pieces or fur looking pieces on these cute ears. They're really pretty. So with her eyebrows, they are a very dark purple. They have an ombre from very dark at the center to fading out light towards the edges. And then they have a whole bunch of little like white line details in them. Her eyelashes are extremely detailed. So the background color is that dark, dark purple, with the lighter lavender, sort of a warm lavender over the top. Those are outlined. There's several lines delineating her eyelids and her eye sockets, which is really pretty. Under her cheeks, I can't tell if those are. I'm probably am gonna have to get out a magnifying glass later. They might be like little clouds or little swirls right under her eyes here, but there's some very, very faint, super, super duper faint, like little circles or something underneath of her eyes on top of that pink blushing on her cheeks. She has a cute little mouth that's just barely open. And then her eyes are a redder pink than any other part of her, sort of a magenta with white reflection accents, some little stars. And I think the inside of her eye has like a diamond detail. It kind of looks like the coin shape uh, that her male counterpart, and I say male counterpart, but I think maybe that doll is also intended to be female in gender. I, they're not strongly gendered dolls, but the male doll has this sort of motif of Chinese coins, and it's kind of looks like what she has in her eyes. Looking at her clothes, and I always really love the Penny's box clothes. I think they're well made. I think they're really thoughtful about like patterns and fabric choices without being too complicated or having too many unnecessary pieces. So her outfit includes a skirt that opens entirely in the back. It's made of two layers, an overskirt and an underskirt. I don't know if you can hear the trains running through town. Just gonna have to ignore that. Um, there is a houndstooth pattern that's actually in the weave of the fabric in like a brocade. And that houndstooth pattern is on both this lighter color, sort of peachy colored layer, and the darker pink colored layer. The skirts are hemmed. Um, it's always hard to hem a curve, and so I think they did a pretty good job. There's some awkwardness around some of the thicker or some of the tighter curves, but they did a pretty good job with hemming it, and it looks pretty neat on the inside. It has a sort of piping or folded over waist that is nice. Um, and then the top of her outfit has a little crop top, or at least it's cropped in the back, and that's good considering how her body is built. But it is the same darker pink as the skirt with the same brocade houndstooth pattern in it. It has dull Velcro. Around the arms, there are white ruffles. It has a high neck. In the very center, it has a plastic charm that looks like a gold tassel. And then she has turquoise bows on either side, just underneath of her arms. And then she has a really pretty pattern on this front piece that hangs down. It has, I guess I would call it a peony in dark pink with light ombres and pale green flowers on sort of a chirimine or textured white background. It's a really pretty applique, kind of like a screen printing. So that is the entirety of her outfit. Again, it's pretty simple, but I think the individual pieces are very elegantly made. Let's go ahead and dress her. And here she is. That was wonderfully simple, actually. Uh, there was plenty of room, um, no problem fitting her to the dress. It's extremely pretty. My only question is why a gold tassel when her jewelry is silver, but I don't think it's that bad of a mismatch. I often wear gold and silver jewelry together, so why am I complaining? Very, very pretty. Again, this is such a beautiful pattern they've printed onto this particular piece. It's interesting. They actually went to the trouble. It's on a fusible web, which gives it some stiffness and keeps it from fraying. But they actually then also went around and did a row of stitches, like a top stitch around the edge, which gives it a nice finished look. It isn't just a piece of unfinished fabric hanging down in front of her. Her skirt has a little slit for her tail, and I have zero complaints about this doll. I think she is super cute. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to check, and no, she does not have any wires in her joints, especially the nine color deer, much less so with these little centaur bodies. But with the nine color deer, I've had to put aluminum wire into their back legs to keep them from collapsing all the time. I haven't had that problem really with the centaurs, so I don't anticipate that being a problem with these dolls. But if you have a problem with displaying them and they want to collapse in the back, just pop a little piece of jewelry, aluminum wire in there, and it easily fixes that problem. So, what a pretty doll with like a lot of really lovely details, but not an overly complicated outfit, which I appreciate. So, very pretty. Thank you. That's Bixie. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, there we go. Much more satisfying. All right. So, this was the one I was the most excited for. I thought she was the prettiest because of her coloring. What do we got? Sandbag, brochure, and we have hers. So her doll is called, and let me just check my notes over here, but I think it's Beiming. Yes, it's Beiming. And it's really interesting because Beiming is like a giant fish who flies through the sky and changes into a bird, I think, at one point. Checking my thing. Yes. So when it's a fish, its name is Kun and it flies around in the north and it's huge. It's gigantic, apparently. And then it can turn into a bird of the name Peng. And so I believe its secondary name is also Kunpeng, which the whole story is just wild to me and really, really cool. Um, she has a little whale on her outfit, which I assume is supposed to represent the giant fish, of course, who flies around in the sky. She has a little wing on her head. I guess that's the bird part or just the flying part. Uh, but otherwise, the story behind this one is really, really cool to me. So, Beiming. All right. So again, we have these simple hands. We've got heart hands and closed hands. And then she has the exact same silver jewelry that the other one does, little two bracelets that have bells on them, and a silver torque necklace that has some little danglies. She is very, very pretty. I really like her translucent hair in the front. So just starting with her body, she appears to have the exact same molding on her legs. Let me do a little check. And yes, so she has the same molding on her legs, but she does have a distinctly different tail. Hers is more swirly than the other one, and it doesn't have that smaller section in the center, but it is this really beautiful blue. She does have the little hooves with claws, and actually, I think you can kind of pick it up here on the camera. The the hoof claw things have little, paw pads, like a three-pawed dog, like little beans here, on her feet. So they're kinda hooves, but they're kinda paws. They got claws. Interesting choices. Her hair is translucent in the front, which has this really sort of almost mirror-like effect to it where you can see through the thickness of it. It's really pretty. And it gets darker into an opaque blue in the back. It has these really pretty swoops molded into the hair, a little crisscross, and then it has a little bun tied in the back. She has this slightly translucent pale blue hair decoration. It's a bow, and then it's molded in, but there's like this little charm, and then there's a ribbon that's also, dangling from it that has a molded in design that's quite pretty with a little, finial at the bottom. And then on top of all of this with her she has the, curved beast, or I should say the curved, spirit horn, but she also has this really pretty, like, feathery wing decoration in her hair that's clear on the tips, and then it, has an ombre to a very pale blue, that's more opaque in the center. So pretty. I really like her. She's really sweet. Let's take a closer look at her face. Oh, cool. So she has, it looks like the same little ears with the blues on the tips instead of the pink. She has very dark, swirly eyebrows. I love how the details. These aren't just like little arched lines. These are full on um, designs in her eyes. And then she has a little double wing symbol in the middle of her forehead in black. It is a distinctly different color. These are very, very dark blue, navy, and the center is black. She's got little blushing on her cheeks that's very peachy. And then she has dark eyelashes with medium blue, and then there's some little white accents right across the top. Her eyes on the inside, they have 2 shades of blue, one that's darker and one that's lighter, and I think it's the shape of a wing. I think the lighter blue in the bottom is in the shape of a wing similar to her eyebrows, and then she has little sort of mushroom-shaped white, reflections at the top of her eyes. So I think that's what's going on. I probably should get my old lady magnifying glass out that I use for work. Why don't I do that? I don't know. Pride, I guess? Looking at her clothes, she also has a two-piece set. So she has a cropped top. It's a little turned up in it. I think it's just the way it was in the back. So she has a little cropped top and it has a white bib that is an applique over the top of the blue, dark, dark, dark blue. Um, it has a brocade pattern in it, much like the houndstooth pattern from the previous one, except hers is swirly patterns. Could be a floral or could just be more of a wave pattern. It has these little sewn on, I think they're sewn on details of little gold bows on the sleeves. There's two on each one. They widen out into this white satin cuff. There's some parts of this cuff. I'm probably going to trim this back so it doesn't stick out quite so much. But it is pretty neatly hemmed, and there's a little notch cut out at the top, which is a nice detail. Instead of having a plastic tassel, she actually has a fabric tassel, or at least a thread tassel, in a light blue over that white applique bib, with gold accents. And then it has a white stand up collar. And of course, the whole back opens up with the Velcro. And it's pretty tidy on the inside. Pretty tidy, like that. And then on her skirt, which is much smaller than the other one, a little bit more curated, has some very pretty pleats in it. Generous pleats, it looks like. So the underskirt fabric is a satin with a pattern on it, a brocade pattern that's sort of like a swoopy, almost like a cirrus cloud pattern on it. It's hard to see in the camera, And then it has white ombre to blue at the bottom. It is hemmed across very neatly. You can definitely see the shininess of the fabric all the way across. Over that, the sort of overskirt is 3 panels of the same blue with the brocade on it. I guess it's a non-fraying fabric, or they've sealed the edges. These are not hemmed in any way. But the center panel has the adorable little whale narwhal. So much like all of the dolls, this whale or giant flying fish, because it also has little wings and it's above a cloud, this flying fish whale thing has a little horn as well, a little arched horn. So love it. Cute detail. The printing is perfect. It's perfection. Very, very pretty. So, again, quick interlude and let's dress this girl. I love her just as much now as I did when I picked her up the first time. The jewelry is a little obligatory for this one. I guess the necklace does keep the little little tassel from flipping up. You can't see her bracelets at all because these are really cute oversized sleeves. But I've got no complaints. She's super, super cute. I like everything about her too. I like that they gave her plenty of extra fabric in the front to give her a really full skirt. So, um, very pretty. I like also, they did a good job making the Velcro exactly as long as it needs to be to keep it on their whole back, but very thoughtfully lets the tails come out. So really like how they handled the clothing for this one as well. Let's move on to the next one. We have 4 more dolls to still open. Let's see. Sandbag, brochure, and we have located the male version of the Pishu. This one is going to be called, I think it's Tianlu. Whoops. Ah. And they're supposed to resemble, so Tianlu, uh, they're supposed to resemble, I believe, a winged lion. They also ward off evil, but they attract wealth or they protect wealth as well. And so, I mean, it has a skirt, but I guess if you're a centaur, you could consider it a kilt. Maybe it is a boy doll. Maybe gender is not important when you are actually a magical spirit. Ooh, this one has the vinyl smell. All right. So we have the same legs, except this time instead of blue, like in the previous one, or pink in the other one, we have a very distinct, uh, rich, saturated yellow for the little hoof feet things. Um, This one appears to have the exact same tail as its lady counterpart. It has the sort of flame with the little gathered bit in the center. This one does have distinctly different ears, though. So I know when they made the boy dragons and the girl dragons, they have different skin colors. And every other doll, I think, has been sort of feminine coded. This one certainly has long roped hair, so maybe I'm obsessing too much over the gender. I probably am. Looking at the head, of course, you can see they have this one has very different ears than the other two had. They have the bright yellow ombre at the edges, but they are more rounded than the other ears. So looking at this one, it's a little easier to see. So the pink one had the little, um, not Beiming, but what was her name? I should say her name right. Bixie. Bixie had just barely visible lavender marks. This one has very distinct and two different colors actually. This one has a fire comma shaped fire shape here on the cheek in red that's pointing up, and this one is the same one but pointing down and in brown instead. This one has brown to red eyebrows. Brown is the base color of the eyelashes with the red over the top, and then there's a star and a sort of a white slash on the eyelashes, and their eyelashes are very thick in this case. Looking at the eyes themselves, they are orange and yellow, goldy colors. They have oh, I know what the so the uh in ancient China, they had sort of a boat-shaped like gold coin or silver coin. So I've been watching Empress of the Palace, and they're always handing out these like ancient Chinese coins, which are like boat-shaped uh ingots of either silver or gold. That's what the reflections in their eyes are. So, or at least that's what I'm going to, um, that's what I'm gonna say. This one has those little boat-shaped, coin reflections, as does her or his counterpart, their counterpart. And then in the bottom, it is that same coin shape that I saw in the other one's eye as well. So that coin shape is the one that is on their hair. It's like a round coin with this little four pointed, uh, almost star shape, I guess. That's what I would call that, a star shape. So their the symbols in their eyes reflect that. And I think that's probably what she has under her cheeks as well, are little flame decorations. Looking at the hair, it is all over brown, no change of color, but there are these tassels that are holding up the very elaborate braids with the little crisscross in the hair, um, red painted tassels with the gold coins, two on each side. And then here in the center, they have just the one horn, and that was that's kind of a cool choice and a cool nod to the original Beast, that the male version of it has only the one horn, and so instead of having, um, a beast horn and then whatever, I don't know, put an extra horn at the top, they just replaced that central horn with this very elaborate, gold painted horn. The gold is quite, shiny. It does a good job of looking metallic. It has 3 little prongs on the sides and then 1 in the center, so it's quite pretty. The jewelry is, exactly the same, but in gold this time, and those are the same hands. Okay. Um, oh, are you supposed oh, no, okay. Wait, okay. Okay, okay, okay. looking at the picture. For a second, I thought this one was a shirt that didn't have the Velcro, and I was going to be surprised because Penny's box is usually pretty good about those sorts of things. Um, this is a little jacket. That's cute. I haven't seen them do a jacket before, I don't think. So it has these little puff sleeves, and they're more of like a cotton type fabric than they are a heavy polyester. They're kind of thin and gauzy, and they have a pattern woven into them as well, sort of a trellis pattern. The red fabric has sort of a rough abstract pattern woven into it, and it's very shiny. And then it has a red ruffle around the bottom, and red it's the same ruffles that are around the wrists. And then the neck is uh, it's a matte fabric in sort of a very pale yellow. The only comments I have on this one is I wish that they hadn't stitched these in red right here. They look a little messy because of the back stitching at the top. Back stitching is 100% necessary to keep your stitches from coming out and fraying, but it does look a little messy, especially red on yellow, sort of ketchup on mustard looking thing going on here. Um, but that's cute, a little jacket. And then this is I would say it looks like a halter. Yeah, yeah. So it is a halter dress, and it's an interesting shape. And I guess that shape is to again, it's longer at the sides so that it can cover most of the back of of the doll, which is a nice consideration that they've done. This one has very strong pleats that are um, created by the fusible web that they've added to the back. The hemming is very nice. The red fabric has a really deep, rich color, and it has that sort of abstract, just modeling woven into the fabric, but it's a pretty detail. The sort of light pale yellow long ribbons here, there's the same one goes around the waist as a decoration. And then this one has a charm. It's interesting. It's a plastic charm that I think is supposed to look like a bag of money and has like that good luck symbol on it. And then it has these two extra dangly bits that are actually attached by little jump rings on the sides. So actually, that's quite cute. So let's go ahead and dress her. Him, them, they. All right. Simple enough. Very, very cute, easy to put on. I like that they went with a jacket this time. They always have such cute details. Every outfit is so individualized for these dolls. Um, this one came with the gold jewelry, which is totally appropriate for all of the other details in her. And yeah, cute little tail. I don't know how they would do underwear on these, so good for them for making an executive decision on that. But so her cute little bottom is out like that. What a cute doll. Very pretty. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 4. Okay, we picked out the other reddish colored one. And I believe this one is based on the, I think it was Kylin in Chinese. I'm more familiar with the Japanese, which is the Kylin. I will know as soon as I see the outfit. Yes. All right. Brochure goes away with the sandbag. There we go. So this one is Kylin or Kirin or Qilin. Oh, I think it's pronounced Qilin. I wrote that down in my notes. Um, and so yeah, the Qilin basically very well known, I think. More like a version of um what you would consider a unicorn, maybe, in Chinese mythology. I really like the character when it shows up in the, what is it, the Legend of the 12 Kingdoms? Is that the name of it in English? Very pretty doll. Also, sort of in that red color scheme of the last doll, red and orange. So we have gold jewelry. Looking at the doll, herself, she has really cute pigtails. So she has the exact same feet, but of course in an orangey red instead of a yellow like the other one. Uh, her tail actually has a flame at the ends, but it's some kind of, it's got scales, sort of like a lizard tail or a dragon's tail. And so it has little scales and then it has like a crest of hair going across the top. She has the same ears as the Tianlu, which are the more round, and it has red ombre on the tips of her ears. Looking at her hair, oh, she's got a cool detail in the back. So she has sort of swoopy bangs on the sides, and all of the hair is red with no sort of color variation to it. It these 2 little pigtails that swoop around to the front. She has a loop of hair or 2 loops of hair at the top, and then she has a translucent fire, decoration on the front of her little loops. So this one's actually translucent, it's sort of more yellow at the bottom and more red at the top, and it matches her 2 translucent horns, here next to the darker colored, beast horn that she has in the center. Pop open this face to look at her eyes. So she has very thick eyelashes, like the last one, like Tianlu. And so the still a little different. So she's got just little dots under her eyes, in red, the same color on both sides over the top of the blushing. She has brown, red, and white. These look more like sort of claw shapes. She has, even though she has these little thin eyebrows, they even still have like little details of like separate individual hairs, like right at where the beginning of the eyebrow is. So there's still like a considerable attention to detail right there. And then in her eyes, um, the bottom, so it's all red inside, and the reflections are stars, and it looks like clouds maybe or smoke in white. And then the very bottom, on top of that dark orange, is a much lighter orange, and then a yellow that looks like a flame or a fire in both eyes. So she's very fire coated. Looking at her outfit. Okay. So the skirt in the perfect shape. So the red and the orange have a brocade pattern uh, woven into them. It's more of like a dashed line. It looks like that, what I called the cirrus clouds on the blue one. Very similar. So it's a bright orange around the bottom and red at the middle, and then a white waistband. Very neatly sewn, especially around these pleats. Very nice. A little bit of Velcro right there. And then she has a cute little cropped top with some details on it. So the back, of course, opens up. It's so wee and so tiny. Interesting. So the outside has the stand-up neck. It's a darker color of gold or orange than the previous one, but a little stand-up collar. The top of this has that same dashed line pattern woven into it, but this time it has a printed design on it. The two scalloped pieces overlap right here at the neck. And so it has this looping gold that would have been like a piping or a trim of some kind. It has white. This is the same white that's in the waistbands, and so quite exaggerated ruffles around the sleeves. And then on the inside, there's three little flaps, and these are sewn up at the neck and hang down. They're quite thin, they're a little delicate feeling. But the two thin ones on the sides have the little coin pattern actually with the circle with the little star in the center, fire at the bottom, and then this sort of fiery looking design in the center. And what I see very, very tiny is that it's bilaterally symmetrical. On either side, it appears to be a little dragon or a Kirin itself. Two of them facing each other. It's just like their heads and then a little bit of their chests. It's a very intricate pattern and it's a very pretty print. Okay, so let's go ahead and dress this one. So, what a pretty doll. I just want to like I really appreciate the fact that even though these two dolls have very similar color schemes, very similar feels, they are so distinctly different as well. Like the details and even just the shading of the colors. Hers are much more dark red and hers are much more bright, vivid oranges. Um, Again, no comments except just pure enjoyment on the sake of these dolls. How pretty is it? Still feel like these are really delicate and like I'm not that I was really worried about accidentally pulling them off or damaging them when I was dressing her. So maybe not the best for like if you're actually playing with these dolls and not just displaying them. But otherwise, no complaints, no comments, just pure enjoyment. Very cute. Love it. Okay. We've got two more boxes. Here's number 5. So this one was kind of a mystery to me. So her name was Silv, and I couldn't really find out what her beast or character was. And I wonder if it just refers to the silver in her design. So if you know what this beast is, I had trouble trying to figure it out. Let me know in the comments. So we're just going to go with it's silver. So she has sort of interestingly long hair. So her color scheme is a purple, but she is definitely even it's a pretty close match, the translucent in her tail to her sisters over here, Bixie. It's just slightly different colored purples, but hers is a little bit darker. She has the same feet, the same legs, so her tail is the swirlies of the same that are Beimings, and she has the same ears as Beiming and the Bixie. So the ones that are slightly more pointy. Her hair is long and down where the others have their hair up. She has some really pretty swirls. So her hair is translucent and then it's painted over with a white. So there is the translucence of the purple, which has a ombre to a solid white in the back. She has like a little hairpin here. It's molded in, it's not actually painted in a different color, but it has a pretty sort of swirly design where it's gathered up her hair. And then her hair, it is nice that the hair is not flat to her back. It actually swoops up a bit, and that makes it a little better for mobility of the head. There are some dolls, for example, this one that have these really long pigtails, or they'll have like a solid block of hair, like, well, she's got the little things, but um, that'll have like a solid block of hair that makes it really difficult to use them with a stand, or it can really limit their mobility. So I appreciate that they swooped her hair up like this. It makes sense with how swirly and light her hair is supposed to be, but it also increases her mobility. So kudos to that. And then in the front, she has the two silver horns with the swirlies, and they are different, I think. Yes, they are different from the other dolls that have two horns. And then she has also a silver decoration that holds up her two little loops up here in the back. And it is very metallic. They do a good job of with the paint being metallic and not just like a dull gray. Then looking at her eyelashes, she has very dark purple eyebrows with little tiny hairs, and there's a swirl in the center. She has dark purple with like a light lavender and then little white hairs in her eyelashes. She has nothing on her cheeks but blushing. And she has little lines uh, delineating her eyelids. And I'm trying to figure out what she's got inside of her eyes. So the bottoms are very, very, very pale, almost white lavender, and the tops are very dark. She has little dots for like it's there's like a large dot and then like a little trail of dots coming off of it. Maybe it's supposed to be like clouds. And I think there's a design in the center that's in sort of like a warmer purple, and I just can't quite tell. Do you match somebody? You do not match her. Let's see, you two were together. Nope, different from this one. Are you counterpart to her? No, you're different too. Maybe I'll get a better idea from the last one when we open them. Maybe there's a match there, but I can't quite tell what's in her eyes. She has silver jewelry and then her outfits. I like how warm and fluffy this one seems, like she's coming from an entirely different climate. So this one has another little jacket and it has some minky fur all the way around the neck and the back, and then all the way around the sleeves, which have sort of a slight bell shape to them. This is that same white fabric that has the little lines woven into it, like little cirrus clouds. Um, but other than that, it's very tidy looking on the inside. Cute lavender minky. Pretty well done. And then she has a very short dress. This skirt's very short. So, and what an interesting front. So the underskirt is simpler. So to talk about that first, it is sort of a dusty lavender color. And then it has a crocheted cotton lace around the bottom. Sort of more of a homey feel, maybe even more of a warm, hearthy feel to go with the fluffy jacket. And there are two little white satin straps for the outfit. And then this is a really interesting shape on the front, this sort of bib shape. I don't quite, so it's an asymmetrical sort of apron style front. There is a gold plastic charm sewn on here that looks like a knot, like an auspicious knot. And then on top of this brocade fabric, there is a swoopy cloud or burst of wind in like a lavender with some yellow accents and then dark purple accents. So it's pretty simple. It's an unusual shape, this sort of um, this asymmetrical aprony type shape. Let's go ahead and assemble her. Oh, she's a pretty doll. Very lovely. I really like the sort of warm vibes she's giving with the little Minky. And all of these like purples are so like some of them are really well matched, and there's just enough variation to keep it looking really interesting. I have, again, no complaints about this doll. Very, very pretty. And again, I love that they made her hair a little bit more accessible, even though it's still long. So, sweet doll. Very pretty color scheme. Which gives us just one more. We have a 1 in 72 chance of getting the hidden. I have never gotten a hidden um, from a blind box. I have ordered them off of AliExpress before. Quite frequently, I've ordered the hiddens off of AliExpress when I find a really good price for one. But I don't think I've ever accidentally gotten one. And we did not this time either. But I'm kind of glad we got this one because this one also has an extremely strange story to the best of my ability to research it. Let me look. So her name is Qingji. And looking at the kanji, there goes that. There you go. So to the best of my ability, what I understand about this spirit is that it is a tiny yellow human being, possibly a prince, on a tiny little horse, and it's extremely speedy. So the yellow color scheme is part of that story. But what a wild, strange little spirit, a teeny tiny human on a horse, which is kind of ironic, right? Because like dolls, these 1/12 size are essentially teeny tiny humanoids. And this one is also a horse. So how appropriate is that, right? I don't know. But I'm glad I got this one because every time I look at her, I will think about the teeny tiny human on a very speedy horse. She has gold jewelry. Everybody's got this exact same jewelry, except in a different color. So this one doesn't have any extra horns. Um, and it is an opaque hairstyle. There's a gold golden rod, sort of warm yellow around the face, more warm and deep than the one that's on the Tianlu. And it ombres to this very sort of verdant, grassy green color. Her hair has some little loops, and there are these pyramid shaped buns like you would see on Anya from Spy Family. And then she has two little tiny pigtails in the back where her hair is pulled, and there's a little rope kind of decoration around the base of it. These two little pigtails that she has in the front has a molded in design of like a little ponytail holder. So she has the softer shaped ears, I believe, right? Right? The soft shaped ears? Yeah, she has the softer shaped ears. Inside of her eyes, and like I said, she has the beast style horn that all of them do, but she doesn't have her own horn. And it's in this pale green color. She has the round tail with the sort of dragon tail with the scales and the crest of hair. Let's look at her eyes. Pop her hair off. Okay, so she has kind of little leaf-shaped eyebrows that they're in mostly dark green, but it looks like there's maybe some lighter green underpainting or little accents to them. They do look very leaf-like with some little hairs on the top. She has a reddish colored line delineating the eye socket, and then she has just red dots underneath of her eyes on top of her blushing. And then she has more like rounded eyelashes in a dark green. There's some like very soft round shapes in them with some little lines in a lighter colored green, then some lighter colored green around the outside edges. Her eyes in I think they're supposed to be so the white reflections in the top of her eyes I think are supposed to be leaf shaped. And I think her lighter colored almost yellowy design is supposed to be like a flowery shape, like there's like a small plant, almost like a wheat plant or something, with like a tassel at the top and some smaller leaves at the bottom. So it's very much a sort of grassy, verdant sort of feel to it. And then looking at her outfit, oh, that's cute. She has a three-piece outfit. That's a first. So she has this teeny tiny cropped jacket. Very cute. It's in that same sort of cotton material that was on the other one that had a trellis pattern. It's a little less shiny than the others, but has a slightly shiny brocade trellis pattern and then some white ruffles around the sleeves. How cute and tiny is this? So clean on the inside, too. She has a little, I think it goes like this, a little halter top that's a separate piece. And the straps are white ribbon, but the uh, design across the top is a printing instead of a ribbon that goes around the top. It's sealed with a tiny bit of dull Velcro. And um, so there's definitely some plant motifs in here, like these leaves at the top and then leaves in the center of the forehead. I'm reading this as like sort of like a fluffy creature like Appa from um, Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's kind of doesn't read like that either. Or maybe it's like, oh, maybe it's like a boar, and so this is like a snout, and there's some like tusks, maybe. I don't know exactly what this shape is. It is vaguely animally and vaguely planty, and it's on this sort of dark green print that has just sort of it's a little bit like the deep red print that has sort of a random pattern woven into it. And then the last piece is her skirt, which is very soft fabric actually. And instead of being a brocade,
with a pattern woven into it, although it does have a pattern. You can see it on the back. And it's that random pattern that the red has and that the top has. Um, but you can't see it very much because of this beautiful print that's on here. It's a swirly sort of cloud print that is a darker green at the bottom, where you can see the little cloud swirls on top of it, and it ombres to like a yellowy butter color um, at the top, where it's gathered into this plain white waistband. And then in the very center, there's a little accent tab, and it has plant motifs. So these look very much like wheat, for example, around the bottom. Um, it is not hemmed in any way or top stitched in any way. It's just a little tab of decorated fabric with an ombre and a couple colors of green and some wheat motifs in it and a flower motif in the center. Okay, let's dress our last friend. And the last one. This is Qingji, our speedy tiny guy on a little yellow horse. Um, Again, beautiful doll. I love the pattern on her skirt. It reminds me of one that's on one of the Cloud Pavilion dolls. So I know I've been referencing a lot of other dolls in this series, and that's just because there's so many nice dolls in the Pennies Box Antu series. Okay, and then I'm just gonna bring everybody out. All right, so here we have the entire series. We have the two Pishus together, male and female, two horns, one horn. Um, they share the same tail. These two share the same tail as well, and these two have the same tail, sharing sort of a cloud and wind sort of motif. So um, it's pretty obvious from the rest of my commentary, but I love these dolls. I think they're just as good as any of the other Beast dolls, maybe better than the Beast Girls series, and definitely, over time, it's not the Centaur's fault, but I think these are definitely better than the Centaurs as well. These are full of wonderful, very individualized details, really beautiful choices in hair and dress. And it really goes to show you you don't need 1,000 pieces. You don't need stockings for everybody and tons of ribbons and, a lot of hair nonsense to make really beautiful dolls. Each one of these only has two, maybe three pieces to their outfit, but they're all really lovely and full of very thoughtful, individualized details. I never have any complaints about the pennies box dolls, to be honest with you. I've gotten consistently purchased their full sets, and I've never been disappointed by them. So, thank you for joining me for this wonderful experience of opening another series of the Pennies box onto collaborations. This one being the Onto Bestiary of All Spirits series. And I hope you found this video really interesting. Do visit all of those other Pennies box videos that we have. We've got Cloud Pavilion, we have the dragons, the mermaids, the nine color deer, the Beast Girls prologue and epilogue, and the Little Woody Sheep, and then and finally, oh, and the Centaurs, of course. So visit that whole series of other dolls and enjoy them as well. Hello, my darling. Come here, Fiend. Come on, come here. Yeah, no, don't stop. Keep going. Oh, of course you are. Go off screen. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this in-depth review and are as passionate about dolls as I am, don't forget to like the video. Give it that magical thumbs up. It keeps us motivated and really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you won't miss what's next. We have got an incredible number of new BJD and MJD dolls arriving over the next few months. Don't tell my editor, but I've counted up my pre-orders and prepare for well over 30 new dolls. There is a doll for every collector, and hopefully you'll find your dream dolls too. Live it vicariously through my budget, and let's celebrate neurodivergent hyperfixations together. If you're just finding us now, we have got a treasure trove of over 30 doll videos in our back catalog waiting for you to explore. If you also enjoy puzzles and card games, please check out our other playlists. Drop a comment below and let me know which doll line you're most excited about. I love hearing from you, answering any questions, and growing our doll community together.